Hello everyone, welcome to another video. I'm your host Omega, and today I just wanted to give y'all a review of the Adv Sound sleepers. For anyone who's wondering, I typically use these earphones as sort of like my backup slash daily drivers whenever my original my usual EDCs aren't available on hand. And yeah, I just kind of use these as a backup earphone or the earphone that I use primarily when I go to sleep. So we'll be kind of taking a more relaxed and a more lenient approach with these as far as sound is concerned. But even still, I think for their price of 20 USD, and that should be the price available on both Amazon and their own specific website. They provide a pretty good sound, and again, they have some pros and some cons, so I'll go with that in a little bit. What I want to get to first is going to be the rating system that I'm going to be using going forward. The rating system that I'm going to use is going to be based off of 5 different key points. Number one being comfort, because if it's not comfortable, then why the hell would you even wear, an earphone? It's because yeah, I mean, if it's just a pain to use, then you're not going to wear it, plain and simple. Number two would be sound, because obviously that's the second most important thing. Third is isolation. Fourth is build. And fifth is value for money. I kind of categorized it by this just because I felt like this was a good place to give people like a starting point, a barometer, and then they can make their own informed decisions uh, after I've laid down all this info. With that being said, it's going to be on a 1 to 10 rating, and basically anything in between there. So let's say a 5 is going to be average, 6 is going to be above average, 7 is going to be getting into the higher quality stuff, but not exactly audio. I wouldn't consider like super duper audiophile grade. 8 is going to definitely be a memorable experience. 9 is damn near perfect, and then 10 is just god tier stuff. So I don't know, insert whatever crazy thing you want to insert. That would be like the stacks of IEMs or something like that. Or like the HD 800s, something like that. Something, very, very, very highly regarded and respected by the audio community just in general. Um, but with that being said, uh, let's go ahead and move on since you essentially know the ratings. So comfort, 9 out of 10, damn near perfect. I absolutely love how these things feel in my ear. Again, because they're designed to, for you to sleep with them, they're not going to make any sharp pains, anything like that. They're they're super tiny, and I'll go ahead and I'll show you all a picture right now. This is how they look. So again, they're made out of this soft touch rubber slash plastic, and you can squish them and they fit right in your ears. And again, because there's nothing sharp or they're not big, if you sleep with them, they're gonna be absolutely fine. And they make this nice little color coding here. So like if you order the black ones, the left side is going to be black, the right side is going to be red, and that's immediately how you can tell which side you're going to be putting in. So I really like that they do something like this because it just makes it easier for people. And even if you have like a different color, it'll tell you, hey, this side is left, this side is right. So just a really cool and a neat way. And I feel like more earphone manufacturers should probably start doing this because I feel like this is a really good thing with what ADV is doing. But getting back to everything again, comfort, 9 out of 10. I love these things. Don't really have much more to say other than that. I would wear these things, for 8 hours, 9 hours, 10 hours a day, and I don't feel like I would get sore of them at all. Again, if you can sleep in them, you're essentially already like trusting yourself with at least 5 to 6 hours of continuous usage with them. So yeah, definitely like it. Sound is where it starts to be a little bit weird, but again, hang on with me because you'll see what I mean. So I labeled this one as an 8. I mean, not an 8, a 6.5 out of 10, but an 8 for the price, an 8 out of 10 for the price. So 6.5 is pretty low, and the reason is is again because I've heard of far more resolving stuff, far more detailed stuff, things with a better sound stage, things with better bass extension, etc. For $20, you should not be expecting a world class, a game changing a level of detail or any of the above of what I just said, except for a couple things here and there that they might do pretty well. Like again, this one does comfort really well, and it'll do isolation really well, which I'll get into in a second here. But for sound, it's a fairly it is different, and I will applaud it for that because it is bass oriented slash mid forward. But again, because these are made for ASMR, they're not going to have any real sparkly treble, and there's not going to be any peaks or spikes. So you're not going to get any semblance out of these bad boys. But again, because they are made for this, because they have the sound signature that's designed for ASMR or an audiobook or a podcast, the vocals are fairly well presented, but nothing really else is. You get the bass for the warmth of somebody's deep, low, and maybe like a raspy voice, but for the music, they kind of do suffer a little bit. So take that, with some consideration before you purchase them. But again, if you're willing to give them a shot, I think they'll definitely impress you or at least surprise you, um, just by what they can do. And I would definitely recommend using these on high gain. Are they a Jade Audio E1? No. Are they a Moondrop Spaceship? No. Are they an Etymotic ER3 XR? Hell no. But again, they're not supposed to be. They're $20, and when you catch them on a sale, they go even cheaper than that. And when they do go cheaper than that, then these are in a class of their own. Absolutely. So, moving on from that, isolation 8 out of 10. These things are almost perfect. Definitely ones to remember. They provide great sound isolation just in general. And if you really jam them into your ears, you won't be able to hear your noisy fans, your computer, your space heater, etc. I don't know if I said air conditioner already, but yeah, you won't be able to hear like a window noise unit for the most part. You might hear it a little bit, but it's going to be very, very muffled. So I'm definitely happy with how these things go as far as isolation is concerned. Build 7 out of 10. Now, the reason why the build is kind of a lower point here is because I do like the soft touch plastic that they're using. I do like the mic that they're using. The button is very tactile and clicky, and their gold plated plug is still nice to see because you are going to be, taking these out a lot. So if they get worn out, the corrosion should not get to them very quickly, if at all. So that's just kind of my little peace of mind thing. Now, it's not necessarily that anything's wrong with them, but the way that they were designed is essentially there's no there's no real strain relief built onto the connecting part. Essentially where the wires would go into the actual earphone housing. They don't really have any strain relief connection. So if these things get snagged out of your ear, or if you push them in too tight, especially to where that wire meets up with the actual driver, you're screwed, buddy. Because you're gonna keep pressing that, and eventually it's just gonna fail, and the wires are just gonna become loose, or you're gonna completely, just trash them inside and not even know it until like one day your one side just randomly goes out and you won't be able to fix it like me. So, or at least you won't think it's worth the time fixing. Because yeah, they're only $20, so just buy some more. But with that being said, again, just because of that stuff, and then also with the first pair that I received, I've gotten both pairs, so this should tell you how much I like it. But with the first pair, I had a bit of a QC issue to where not only did they go out fairly quickly, but unfortunately, my 3.5 mil plug was warped, and so it made plugging into things a bit more difficult and not fun. But again, the second time they were spot on and they've been working great. So I think the first one I just may have gotten a dud, but again, it would have been nice to see some sort of QC here. So that's why the 7 out of 10 rating for the build. Now for value for money, I'm going to go ahead and put these at an 8 out of 10. And again, it's because there are some better stuff that I will go ahead and mention at the end. But what this basically boils down to is this is a pretty damn good earphone for the price, especially if you have to use it for this specific purpose. If you are, then again, I think you're gonna like this quite a bit, and it'll definitely be worth your $20. For the other more audiophile oriented, or just at least earphones that have more to offer, even though they're not that much more expensive, I feel like the price should still be taken into consideration, especially with value for money, because you're essentially saying, okay, what's my price to performance ratio? And I feel like, especially if these go on sale, it's game over. These things definitely take over in price to performance. But if they do not, then you are going to start running into the issue of, well, if I just pay 5 or 6 more bucks, I can get the Jade Audio EA1, and this sounds head and shoulders above this one. And I would say you're absolutely right. Jump for that one instead at that point. Or, if you don't want to spend that much money and you still want to go around fairly inconspicuous, hey, Moondrop spaceships, way more soundstage as far as, it being wider, way better bass extension, way better decay and attack, more sparkly treble, and the same or better mids. So again, and it's only $2 more with the mic. So at that point, it's like, duh, just get that one. So yeah. But again, if you get these on a sale, then they're definitely absolutely at that point a steal. It's just because that now in recent years, the $20 and up market has gotten so competitive that it's really difficult for me to, give these a higher rating, just because I feel like their sound is a bit more veiled and not as resolving as the others. But again, if you're using them for this specified purpose, this should not be an issue at all. And if anything, it should be a very relaxing and a very enjoyable sound signature. So again, especially for the price, don't get it twisted. I do not like these things. I wouldn't have purchased another set, if I didn't want to give it a second chance because I didn't like it. So with that being said, this concludes the portion of essentially the rating system. I'll go ahead and I'll give the overall rating here at the end. But for right now, I'm actually going to go ahead and try and give y'all a sound test and see what you think about these things. This is a recording for the Advanced Sound Sleepers. And now I will just go ahead and read a brief synopsis for Adv Sound. This comes straight from their website, on their About Us page, and then also on their Amazon page for any of their products. And it states, "It was for the love of music. It was the respect for all musicians of the past, present, and future. It was for the struggling instrumental buried underneath the heavy bass line. It was for the audiophiles craving that crystal clear and mind-blowing detail." And there you have it, y'all. So that was essentially a mic test on there. There's quite a bit of compression, and the audio quality still isn't that great, but I think it was just the source that I was trying to grab the recording from. Not exactly the best, but also not the worst. So with that being said, we'll go ahead and we'll move forward. I'm gonna go ahead and show y'all my on-the-go rig. So my on-the-go rig is essentially nothing but a tablet. Um, Oh, if it pops up, give me 1 second. Sorry about that. My on-the-go rig is essentially a tablet running USB Audio Player Pro. You can see the earphones there, and I run it off of a Heidi's S3 DAC. Quite nice, and again, because I'm using BitPerfect here, this DAC actually supports 24-bit at 192, but I have it capped off right now to 16-bit at 44.1 because that was what this track was originally recorded in. So I'm not going to go any higher than that. And then for my PC rig, I'm using Foobar 2000, and I have the replaying gain on, and it's running through a Mica Origin G2 Plus DAC amp off of the USB, and I absolutely love this thing too. I do use high gain with most, if not all, of my earphones, just because I feel like it definitely sounds quite a bit better, and most, if not all of them, receive bumps in the treble response and also the bass response, and everything just sounds more airy and a little bit wider as far as sound is concerned. Now, for the tracks that I've been using, essentially it's gonna boil down to and also I hope Bad Guy Good Odd Reviews likes this, but I'm gonna be using my Wink, one of my favorite tracks from Wink that would be Especially for You off of their titled Especially for You album. Toto off of their Toto album, Hold the Line. This might be a little bit newer, so most folks won't know this one except for the young heads like me. But off of Rich Brian's Amen album, Attention, that would be track 5. Really good thumping bass song, hip hop. For the jazz selection, I've got Candy Dulfer, For the Love of You, and also the Seatbelts playing Clutch off of their Cowboy Bebop soundtrack, Future Blues. This was for the movie, to my knowledge. So good stuff there. And then some more 80s stuff, some more 80s hip hop. Eric Sermon's hit song with Redman, Funko-Rama. Really, really good song. I think this album, at least I know this compilation album was made in '96, so I definitely like it. But yeah, I think it should have been entitled Insomnia if I'm not mistaken. But yeah. And then last but not least, I got 2 orchestral testing tracks. This would be off of the World God Only Knows original soundtrack, track 13 and track 14. I believe they were both done with the Tokyo Orchestra, if I'm not mistaken. I probably could be wrong, but very, very talented and widely respected orchestra. They have some really beautiful sounds with the piano and the piano. Oh my god, that's like classic Steinway and Sons right there. Sound, if not a Yamaha, but I'm pretty sure it's a Steinway and Sons. Um, Steinway and Sons, Steinway. I'm so sorry. Anyways, moving on past that. Uh, yeah, that's essentially what you're going to be getting out of that bad boy. But yes, in general, everything sounds pretty good. Again, veiled, but definitely not too veiled. Still resolving, and still very well balanced. Again, with a little bit of a bump to the mids and the bass, more so the bass than anything else. Just to give it that warmer, more inviting and pleasing sort of vibe to it, sort of sound signature, one might say. And now moving on to essentially the last part here, that would be the pros and cons, and then the overall rating. So for the pros, as I mentioned before, they're super comfortable, great isolation because again they're so small as you can see from this picture. The mic is included, so that's great too, for the $20. It sounds fairly decent, so that's also great. You can talk to your nan or anyone that you want to with these bad boys on. And again, because they are super small, you're able to sleep with them on, which is something you can't say for a lot of other earphones, especially if you have very sensitive ears or your ear canals are just not used to anything being shoved in them when it's dark out. So that's that. Now, the cons. I was about to say pros again. The cons. We do have quite a couple. A loop over the ear is definitely highly, highly, highly recommended and almost required, honestly. And the reason for this is ding, 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 atrocious microphonics or cable noise. So for those of you that don't know, microphonics is essentially that noise that you hear whenever whenever you're wearing your earphones and you just hear that happening from the cable just sliding around. And in some cases, if you try and wear them with just plopping them straight into your ear instead of them hooking them over your ears and then into your ears, it can almost get so bad that it just does it legitimately almost cancels out your songs. So it's pretty damn bad, and to me that's just not acceptable. But again, if you are going to be sleeping with them, most people assume you will just stay in one spot and not move around a ton. But for me, that never works. And if I want to use them on the go, Well, basically can because of the microphonics if I were to just, plop it straight inside my ear. But when you loop them, it sounds a hell of a lot better. And I feel like it kind of just rights all those wrongs in that situation. So moving on from there, because these are so small, and unfortunately, I think this is the only picture that I have that'll actually show how small they are. Hold on. Yeah, well, actually, you can sort of see it from this lady's picture here. Obviously, I still think these were photoshopped in and fairly well, but as you can tell, they're very, very small. And because they're very, very small, the seal isn't that easy to make. These earphones are a one size fits all type earphone because the ear tips are non detachable whatsoever. So what you get is what you see is what you get. And because of that, ears that are smaller than mine won't be able to fit this in. Like my girlfriend's, she can't wear them very well, and they sound kind of weird to her. But for bigger people too, you should be okay. But if your ears are just too big, then these things are not going to really fit in there at all, and then you're going to be equally just as screwed as the other person. So take that how you will. In addition to that, there's no strain relief for the earphone connection, and I kind of, wrap this up all into build quality, but quality control is questionable, and I feel like these are going to fail pretty quickly, as my first ones did, but with the second pair that I bought, and they haven't, so it's questionable, I would say. Not necessarily bad, but just questionable. Now, the other con is, and unfortunately I don't have a picture of any footage of it, but the Moondrop spaceships. Now, the Moondrop spaceships are only $2 more than this, and I feel like they have a great sound as well. They're more resolving, definitely higher build quality. I'm talking head and shoulders over this Adv Sound build quality, but in the same respect, I don't feel like you could sleep with these as easily as the sleepers, because the sleepers are legitimately just built for that. I mean, it's in the name. So yeah, I feel like these do quite a bit of a better job. But if you wanted to stay underneath the radar and still have a more energetic sound signature, then I would definitely recommend, staying where they're at and not jumping on this advanced sound sleeper bandwagon / train. So yeah. Now for the overall rating, I'm gonna give these an 38.5 out of 50, or for those of you converting to a 100-point system, that would be a 77 out of 10, meaning these are a fairly high C. Almost B, but again, not necessarily. I feel like if they had a version 2 of these bad boys, they would definitely fix some of these issues, because I highly doubt I'm the only person who's talking about this. But with that being said, I do feel like it would be better. And again, I would definitely be looking very much forward to that entry and to see what it has to bring to the table, because I feel like mids would be elevated, bass would come down a little bit, make the bass a bit quicker to decay, and really improve the range of its attack, and its just how dynamic it is. Because I feel like if they do that, they'd still have a good mix between, okay, yeah, it's more detailed now, we can hear more of just the overall details in it, not just, vocals and a small bit of vocals at that. It's going to be the entire range for both male and female. And then on top of that, the mids will become a bit more sparkly again. Not necessarily to the fact that, it's going to cause you issues, especially with harsher songs that weren't recorded correctly, but as long as they don't have an absolute garbage audio signal, then you'll be able to tell whether or not, whether they're going to be good or not. But but aside from that, I do like these quite a bit, and I'm definitely going to keep them in my collection for as long as I quite possibly can, because I do feel like these are really good as far as for their use case. But with that being said, I hope you all liked and enjoyed this video very, very much. If you have any suggestions, please leave them down in the comments part for me, please. And in addition to that too, let me know if you all have had any experience with these earphones, I do like them quite a bit. Like I mentioned before, I had another one. I still have my first one that kind of pooped out on me, but again, love what Adv Sound is doing, and I also just like what the rest of the audiophile market is doing. They're making this space so insanely competitive, and I absolutely love it to bits. So yeah, I just would say keep going because there's always going to be somebody better than you. And you know what? That's the only way you really push innovation is by having, people or companies vying for your attention and, just seeing which one can get closer to that audio perfection that we're all craving. But essentially, yeah, from there, I think we're all good, guys. So I think that's going to be it. I hope you all have a good night or day wherever you're at. Again, Happy New Year's. For us, it just passed. For my family and I, it just passed. Let's see, about 16 minutes ago or so. No. That would mean it's 1:16. About an hour and 16 minutes ago. But with that being said, thank you all so much for watching. Take care. I hope that this year is going to be very prosperous and exciting for you, and I can't wait to see you all in the next video. Thanks again. Take care. Keep the music blasting and the good times rolling. And this is Omega signing off. Thanks a bunch. Bye-bye.